What's up guys, Devin here with another quick video on real estate tips. Today I want to discuss my top 5 things needed for the wholesale process. Now these may be a bit different for other investors, but for us we found these being some of the most important items needed for a successful wholesale. Guys, if you like the information, if it's beneficial to you, please feel free to like this video and of course subscribe for more real estate tips and videos. Check it out.
I got the keys.
So having an escrow agent or a title company to work with you specifically is probably one of the most important things you'll need in your wholesale process. Here's why. Not everyone is comfortable working with assignment contracts or even double closing. So I think this is one of those necessary things you'll need to go ahead and knock out prior to actually placing a house under contract. That way you get everything knocked out ahead of time. So you get a house under contract and then you already have your person, your escrow agent or your title company to go ahead and knock out the paperwork for you. That way you don't waste any time, you don't lose your potential deal. Having an email address, I know it sounds silly, but this is another thing that has given us tremendous success in our wholesale process. Here's why. Having that email address gives you the capability of having more communication with the agent or the seller that you're working with other than a phone call or text message. Furthermore, any documents you need to send over to the persons, you can do so through your email, opposed to having that fax things over. I don't know who would do that nowadays, but having to fax things over or even meeting with the person physically. Since it's 2020, I think having an email address is an extremely vital tool needed for businesses and their success, simply put, because nobody does things physically and in person any longer. This is one of those things that you can simply send over the documentation and they can send it right back with the click of a button. Proper contracts. Yes, so this is yet another important and extremely vital item needed for the wholesale process. Here's why. So having a proper contract is important because if you don't have your contingencies in place, then you don't have a way to back out of the deal. And I'm going to go ahead and let you all know this right now. There's a good chance you're going to be backing out a good percent of the properties you place under contract, because anything can happen. We all know anything can happen in the game of real estate. So in the event something does happen, you want to have that safety net set in place on your contract. So I think this is an important step to knock out prior to reaching out and getting properties under contract. What we did was basically network, found some persons who had an official or a good contract set in place with all the contingencies. Once I actually got a copy of that, I went ahead and structured it or curated it specifically for our business. And I reached out to a lawyer to go through all the fine print just to make sure everything was set in place. That way, if something were to boil down for us to back out of the deal, then it would all be stipulated into the contract. So I think this is something you all would want to knock out as well. Having the investor's mindset is extremely vital to the wholesale process, because if you go into each deal thinking what the investor thinks, then the process will be a lot smoother, a lot easier for your business, and you'll start to see a lot more success when it comes to wholesaling the properties. You'll start to hear this a lot throughout your wholesale adventure. Basically, the numbers have to make sense. If the numbers aren't right, then I promise you, nobody's going to want the deal. So I think this is one of those things you want to do prior to actually contracting on a property. You want to make sure all the comps are right. You want to pull your numbers, try to get an estimate of all the renovation costs and how much the investor would end up profiting after the fact. So I think this is one of those important steps needed to knock out prior to placing a house under contract. Buyers. So yeah, I think this is probably the most important item needed for the wholesale process. Here's why. So contracting on properties, that's the easiest part. Anyone can do that. But what happens when you contract on the house, but you don't have anyone to sell your contract to? You can't assign it to anyone. What happens then? So I explain exactly what happens. You wasted time and you lost out on your potential deal, if the numbers make sense, of course. So basically all I'm saying, guys, is this is yet another thing you want to knock out prior to going out and contracting on properties. You want to network and try to build your buyers list so that whenever you do contract on the properties, all you have to do is simply blast out the deals, allow them their due diligence, and close on the houses. That's it. All right, guys, that's all I have. Please, 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 if you like the video, if you like the content, please go ahead and like this video. And of course, subscribe to our page for more real estate tips and videos. Thanks.
I got the keys, keys, keys.